more, right? Because I think at the end of the day, weather is here to stay. I'm 100% weather is here to stay. If not, I would cut my dick off, right? I think this is definitely here to stay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
GM, everybody.
GM, how's everybody doing this morning?
Welcome to the show. Well, if you are wondering what's the GM show, here's the ABC. Again, it's Asia focused, builder friendly, and cool vibes only. Powered by Memeland, home of captains, potatoes, steakland, and you, the real MVP. My name is Karen, and I'm your co-host as well, head of social for Memeland. Hey,
That's
Casey.
great. I think you got it down so fast that people can, I don't know if they can hear it or not, but it's great. I'm Casey. I am, the guy here. Very excited to be here. We are on our last, the week before the big events in Singapore. We've been talking about them for the last, a few months. And so very excited. But Karen, you just came back from Korea, right? How was Korea Blockchain Week?
Oh, it's crazy. So there are lots of events, and they are all hosted in some really cool venues. It's just like the next level. I think, talking about like entertainment in South Korea is another level for sure. So it was great, and the weather was pretty nice compared to like the rest of Asia. Yeah. But we're really looking forward to going into the hot Singapore.
Hot Singapore, yeah. So what exactly is our plan for Singapore?
Well, we have the 17th, which is our party with our community. And we are also doing a holders dinner on the 19th. But you and I, Casey and I, we are doing a walk around and talking to people around the venue inside of Token Conference. So if you're around, please let us know so we can like catch you at your booth or like somewhere in the corner. Then we can like talk to you about
your laksa that we find being laid out for us at lunch. I think that that's the one thing, we do this show every week from like this kind of like Zoom meeting thing, right? And we do a show. We did a show in Singapore last year, our first live show, but it was still like in a room, right? So I think a lot of people would love to see what it looks like on the show floor. How loud is it? And what kind of booths are there? Because I think last year was pretty exciting. I thought that the layout was very exciting in the Marina Bay Sands. Plus, on the streets with getting ready for F1, it was just a very exciting. We were there for like a week, right? That was crazy. I think we're going to be there for a week again this year. So we're definitely going to be exhausted. We're definitely going to be thrilled. I'm very excited to see all the exciting stuff happening in Asia around crypto stuff. And I want to just kind of share this document quickly. So our friends here in Hong Kong, they're called Moongate, and they've been putting together these spreadsheets of all the side events for every event around the world. I even see here there's a tab for Malaysia Blockchain Week.
Everything.
So they go everywhere, everything. So it looks like things are starting on the 16th already. The conference isn't for a few days from there, but there's a Ethereum Singapore happening before, right? There's a Solana Breakpoint, which we're going for as well. Wow, a lot of DPIN events going on, a lot of DGen events going on.
I think this might be the most side event that ever happened.
There's 500 lines in this, 500 rows on the spreadsheet. It's crazy, and they're all at like these cool places, right? They've got like co-work spaces or bars and stuff like that. I don't know how people go through this. and they're all like at the same time. Look at how many of them are at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, look at this. 10:30, 11, 12. Like, you're at 6 or 7 events every hour. I don't know how people even go to the conference, have time to go to the conference, but it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling down. This is 300. This is the Thursday. So this is the main day, right? Or the second day. It's Thursday, the 19th. So look at that. It just keeps going. And then Friday, there's a workout DAO run in the marina. So they got cool stuff like that going on. There's a technology expo going on at the same time, right? So I think they've included a couple of other things going on. There's a runes event. There's an hackathon for ETH. And then, of course, lots of F1 stuff going on. So if you're into F1, if you're into crypto, your NFTs, this is the event to be at. I mean, we've hyped it so much. I can't imagine you're not there. Somebody, I don't know if people are trolling for engagement on their Twitter, but sometimes I see people like who should know better going, should I go to Singapore for Token 2049? It's like crazy to see those kind of comments. So we're going to be there at the 2 events, and we're also going to be at McDonald's. And as you know, because it's just a tradition of Memeland that we go to a McDonald's. And so, but we still haven't figured out which one to go to, right?
Yeah, we need to find the best one.
We need to find the best one. Yeah. We want the best one. And then quickly, I looked at the menu and McDonald's menu, because, you know, every country has their own type of McDonald's menu. And it's pretty standard, though. I don't think Singapore went too crazy, but I did find this interesting hamburger here. It's a buttermilk crispy chicken, and it comes with a pineapple slice of pineapple on it. And so it looks quite interesting. We might try that, but I don't know. Maybe we're just going to go for one of these 3,000 calorie, 4,000 calorie sharing bags. 20 McNuggets.
We need more people to come over for this sharing snacks.
Exactly. So hopefully people can come and join us.
Yeah. So if you're around Singapore, please let us know, and then we can either talk to you or we can share the snacks in McDonald's. And speaking of Token, there are some new stuff going on because not only is the Formula One World Championship happening, there's like pop culture icons, founders, and CEO across Web3, AI, finance, technology, all coming together. And there's like extended speaker lineup. The new edition includes Oracle Red Bull Racing Formula One driver Max Verstappen and Grammy nominee Iggy Azalea. So if you're around, please, this is probably the best lineup in a Web3 conference.
This is like bull season again. Like, what is going on here? The bull market is back with these crazy types of guests that we're getting here.
Feel the bull. Yeah.
Feel it. So Izzy, like, she's a big singer, right, in the States. She had launched her own NFT, huge mother thing. It's just amazing to have these people all coming to Singapore. So I think that's pretty excited. My piece on it was they also announced a collaboration with spatial sound pioneers Polygon Productions. I don't think they have anything to do with the Polygon network, but they are the world's. Do they? No. No, they happen to be the world's most immersive 360-degree live sound experience, set to debut at After 2049, which is the official closing event. The final limited release of the After 2049 tickets will be available through Resident Advisor on the 12th of September, which is today. So if you haven't got your tickets for the super after party with all the celebs going to be there, you better get your tickets today. And that is the final warning for you.
Might be the hottest party. So don't miss it.
Might be, yes.
Okay, so before we begin the show, let's hear it from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
I like putting it in a different location. It feels like a new show, right? It doesn't seem like it's so orchestrated every time. And I can't believe I forgot to bring it up after all this time. All right. So today we're back in gaming, Web3 gaming. And the company we're bringing on the show this week, it's called Jungle. They are a Web3 gaming developer and publisher. They develop and publish hybrid games, mobile first and blockchain enabled. They're currently working on their first title, FTW for the Win, a lightweight mobile shooter powered by Web3 tournaments and wagering platform. They are backed by Bitcraft Ventures, Delphi Digital, and Framework Ventures. Karen, who is our guest today?
All right. So he was previously with Web3 gaming lead at Wildlife Studios, the largest gaming company at Latin America with 3 billion plus downloads, and platform lead at EQT Ventures, a multi-stage European VC fund with 2 billion plus AUM. Please welcome to the GM Show co-founder and CEO of Jungle, Joao Beraldo. Hello, Joao.
Hello. Awesome cinematic intro. Love the.
Yeah, we're
You're like a
very good at
wrestler. You're like a wrestler coming onto stage to fight the Wrestling Federation for W3. Where are you right now, Joe?
I am in Singapore as of
Oh, okay.
yesterday.
He's ready to.
You're
he's
ready to rumble already. You're
Yeah,
there super
exactly.
early.
I
Getting
arrived
on the
way too
time
early.
zone, getting the humidity into check.
Yeah, exactly. Putting myself in the right mind space for token.
Nice. Is this your first token, or have you been there before?
It is my first token in Singapore. I've been to the one in Dubai earlier this year.
Okay, great. Oh, that was hopefully nothing like that happens in Singapore either, right?
Oh, it's
Pretty sure
like,
their water is pretty good there. The drainage system is great in Singapore.
Yeah, not expecting any floods.
Not expecting any floods, right? Okay, great. All right. So if you haven't been on the show or seen the show before, we ask the same 15 questions to each week's guest to get some insight into their day-to-day life, what inspires them, and what lessons can they pass on to the next generation building in Web3. Let's start them off. Karen, what's the first question?
okay, let's go. The one, what's the one app you have on your home screen that not many people do?
Yeah, so a recent app that I installed is Obsidian. I'm not sure how popular this is, but for me, it's been very different than other note-taking apps. So yeah, that's the latest, and I guess most different one that I have directly in the home screen.
Why are you using? What's so great about it?
It's very simple organization of the text files, and I was getting to a point with Notion and Notes and all of these other apps that they got way too much after you really use them for quite some time. So I decided to streamline, simplify everything, kill it, and just focus on one app that was like bare bones at the limit.
Okay, good. All right, we'll take a look at that. All right, next question is, what is something that's greatly influenced your life? It could be something when you were a kid, like a cartoon or a book or an event, something that's influenced your life in general.
Yeah, so I think the book that mostly influenced me when I was growing up was probably The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho, who's a Brazilian writer.
Yeah.
And I remember reading this, I think it was probably middle school. And I think the message and the writing style definitely left an impact. This core kind of like message of chasing your dreams and following your inspiration being kind of like the source of all true value. I think that is like a very powerful message that stayed with me and still kind of like a, let's say, guiding motif here. So yeah, that's definitely the one that got me at the right moment when I read it, for
It's
sure.
a very good book. A lot of people read it later in life. Where did you go to middle school where they make you read it at such an early age?
Yeah, for sure. So I read it. I was in Belgium. That's where I went to school. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so what is the one investment that you ever made that's the best, and what were the returns?
Yeah, so last cycle, I think my best return was probably Proof, the NFTs from Kevin Rose. I got in at mint. I think this was like a 1 ETH mint, and then I exited. It was like a 33x. And ETH at the time was like 3K or so. So bought in at 3K, went to like 100K ish, and then sold. It wasn't the peak return for the asset, right? I think this was.
Wow.
I ended up later regretting like paper handing because I would have done much better in that position. But nonetheless, 33x was still pretty good for the time.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like yeah. Talk to the other holders; they might have a different story for that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's all
Next
about the
question,
timing,
number
right?
4. Who is someone you were inspired by and why? Someone.
Yeah, for sure. So I think today the most inspirational figure, not just for me, but let's say in the world, is definitely Elon, right? There's no other way to slice it. I think this is the guy that's having the most kind of consequential impact in civilization by far. And whenever I think about kind of like inspirations of sort of high profile figures, he's the guy that's still always pushing the envelope, right, of what's possible, how much impact and agency you can have, and doing so at an incredible pace and level of complexity, right? There is nothing quite like it in terms of the number of operations he's managing at scale and the amount of value it's producing, the potential impact it's going to have for the future. So I think it's rather kind of like a very boring conventional answer, but by far in the magnitude of like impact, he's the outlier today, I think.
Okay.
Awesome. So here's the hard question. What is the one conventional wisdom that you disagree with?
Yeah. So I'll take this back to Web3, and I think particularly within the gaming context, I think there is a lot of anchor concept around the idea of player ownership, right? Being sort of the future and everything that we should aspire for. And a lot of companies in the space really have that as their core value prop, right? We're giving ownership to the players. And I think it's such a distorted kind of like incomplete view of what ownership actually means and how Web3 can enable that. I think for the vast majority of games, the concept of ownership doesn't really move the needle for players, and the game remains completely centralized, and all that you're exporting and giving ownership to is an asset that you can trade and you can kind of have financial upside with. But really, the core unlock isn't ownership per se, it's rather what can you do with it, right? Not necessarily in the sense of utility, but what is the benefit, right? Well, so what that you have that ownership. And I think the ownership is really just seen as this kind of like vanilla concept, but what players and users actually benefit from is the ability to sell that asset, right? The tradability and the market value of it. The liquidity is the core point. But it gets all bundled under this like ownership concept, and very few people kind of actually speak the truth on what ownership can actually deliver to the space.
Okay. Good. Next question. A lot of people want to ask this kind of question. What is one piece of advice you would give to a first-time founder?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the most helpful advice that I kind of found over the last few years as I've been operating is to really focus on what only you can do as a founder. There is so much open space for how you can operate when you start a company, right? You are to some extent always making decision of where to allocate your time, energy, resources, capital. But that to filter that like infinite space, it really helped me to think of what is this say space that only I am gonna have an impact on, and how can I maximize that as my kind of like go-to zone of operating. And it's not necessarily going to be the same thing all the time. It's always going to be kind of changing as the business evolves and matures and the team kind of gets built up. But it's been very helpful for me to always be thinking about that question: where am I the only one that can move the needle here, and how can I go and tackle that as kind of like my priority?
Cool.
Okay, so when I guess like you work with a lot of VCs and probably other partners in around the gaming industry, what is the worst piece of advice you ever received?
Yeah, so I think the worst piece of advice, or let's say wisdom that is going on right now, is actually the idea of founder mode. Uh, the reason why that is because it's just so vague as of now, the branding. So Paul Graham published this this blog post essentially defending this mindset of founder mode, which I think is great. But the moment you start reading, you see that he doesn't actually define it, doesn't actually specify what it means. So it becomes this like blank concept that can be used to justify anything. And I think it's become a meme to some extent. People are joking about it, but it's the whole point is you can't pin it down. So I think that that's likely the most controversial one happening right now. That is very kind of hard to either confirm or refute because in different cases it will mean different things. But it's been fun seeing kind of like all the reaction across the timeline as that's got a lot of like support and kind of like conversations going.
But what's your interpretation on that one? Like,
So founder mode for me, like the way he's writing about it, just seems like you can do anything with full kind of like wherewithal without needing much explanation, justification. It just seems like it's a invocation of an extreme like past that you can kind of like go and do non-consensus things, which is which is fine, I guess, if you do it and it has the right impact, the right outcome. But it can also be disastrous if you use it in the wrong way. So I think it's just like a way to operate where kind of like you're very contrarian, you don't answer to anyone, and you go about in your own way. But it's hard to just give a blank pass on it and say like, yeah, that's the best way to run a company.
Yeah.
right.
Point.
Okay.
All right. So you come from video game background, but how did you get into Web3?
Yeah, so I got into Web3 first in 2017, I guess, buying crypto. Realized there wasn't much there apart from the sort of speculation into coins and sort of ICO boom at the time. Ended up dropping out of the space and came back in 2020 and 21, mostly because of what I saw happening in NFTs. And what I found compelling was that for the first time, I saw kind of the makings of a new scene, new culture being born in the space. And that for me was way more interesting than just, let's say, the financial piece of the last cycle. So when I realized that, there are all these like new angles to the industry, past kind of like ICOs, past DeFi, and it was more creatively interesting now to get involved. That for me was the hook when I saw creators, traders, collectors really discussing other things than just, let's say, price alone or financial kind of like elements. And I do think that's still what keeps me going to this day. And seeing kind of like, the new kind of like space of creativity and culture online bleeding into Web3 is kind of like for me the most interesting aspect of this market.
Okay. So you talked about proof, and what was your first NFT though? Like, did you learn anything from it, and do you still own it?
Yeah, so I think the first big collection that I got into was loot, from both kind of a trader, collector perspective, but also creator. It was the first kind of like open contract where I was exploring kind of like building already in the space and decided to do a variant, one of the many kind of like offsprings of loot at the time. And that idea of like composability and kind of remixing live on chain and doing kind of like these permissionless kind of like sub creations, right, of an IP was very compelling, building blocks and kind of like leading up to something that was very kind of like disseminated to Web3. It didn't, I think, really pan out, right? Like the end vision of loot, I think it spread way too fast in many directions. There was no cohesive structure bringing it back together. But I think for me, that was the first moment where I really sunk my teeth and got very involved in the ecosystem.
And do you
And
still?
I still own my versions of the of the variants. I don't think I own any of the original loot NFTs now.
Okay.
Okay, good to know. Okay, and the final question in this Web3 history lesson is, what is one misconception about Web3 you want to change? Now, most people will say, I want to change that thing that everybody thinks it's a scam or maybe thinks it's just speculative. But I think that people in the gaming industry have different things to kind of prove. Well, how about yourself? What's kind of thing that you see?
Yeah, I think on the scam point, it's not necessarily that I wanted to change as much as I think we all needed to change for this market to evolve, right? It's still very much the case that the perception of Web3 outside of our niche and bubble is very negative, right? There's no other way about it. I think there was a poll recently about the most unattractive things that you can have about a guy, and I think top three was like he's into crypto, right? So,
That's right.
um,
Yes.
so
Funko Pops and NFTs. Those are the
exactly,
two worst ones.
it's like toxic waste, right? If you're
Yeah.
in the space, it's like it's the worst thing possible. Um, so that obviously has to change if we're gonna kind of keep evolving as an industry and growing. For gaming specifically, I think my biggest perspective on the space is really that about kind of asset ownership, and I think for the most part we haven't really figured out what true gaming for Web3 looks like. I think we have only one or two outlier examples of success in the space that really didn't live up to being kind of sustainable powerhouses over the long term. And I think we're still finding out what is unique about sort of Web3 for games and how to best go about building that playbook. So I think it's likely that the next cycle will change a lot of the designs and the go-to-market and the sort of models of how to build in Web3 for games. But as of today, I think we're somewhere in the middle zone of we're still a bit haunted by the ghosts of the last cycle and really reliving a lot of the same mistakes and dreams, but we haven't fully ushered in a new model yet. So we're kind of this middle state that is hard to stay in.
Yeah.
Amazing.
sense.
I feel like there are definitely some red flags when you when people are talking about going and dating, and they are either a crypto guy or into Legos. Apparently,
No, it's
so
Funko Pop. Legos are okay. Funko Pop are the super nerdy ones. You want to stay away.
so
I forgot. We got to find that chart and put it up with this
yeah.
show.
So okay, let's get into the business side. So can you tell us a little bit more, like what are you building right now? We saw the teaser came out a couple days ago, and what is the next step?
Yeah, for sure. You guys should definitely cue the teaser as well. This
Yes.
so far it's been the best trailer that we've released. But yeah, in terms of okay, there we go.
Playing for glory, playing for mint. Interesting to see how different strategies come together. And that's it, the final push. Who's going to claim victory and take it home? Oh, just as the smoke is closing in, she managed to sneak through and get the kill. Tournament that redefines play on, folks. Good game.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about it.
For sure. So that's the game. It is live right now, globally in the App Store, so you can go and download it and check it out. It is a mobile shooter called FTW for the win. It is structured as this hero shooter, right? So you have different characters with their own unique ultimate abilities, and you play these matches that are very snackable, right? So a few minutes each, 3 minutes at most. And we are constantly trying out new gameplay modes. So the latest that we've shipped, which the trailer kind of covers, is a showdown mode. It's a unique kind of blend of battle royale with free for all, where we're streamlining a lot of the, let's say, early boring parts of a BR, where you drop and you have to pick up the loot from zero. And we've created this concept of a randomized loadout. So as you enter a match, you essentially spin a slot machine that gives you the characters, the weapons, the gadgets that you're going to play. And every time that you die, it respawns or refreshes the slot machine. So very much starting the premise with kind of a chance-based or surprise mechanic that you then have your skill around to navigate and play the match. So the game is live now with a big tournament that we're hosting all of this month. It is a activation that is structured in two phases. So during the week, players come into the game, they're playing unranked matches, and the more that they climb in the leaderboards, the more tickets they accumulate. And then they use the tickets in the weekends for the finals. And so that are ranked matches where the score starts counting for your tournament ranking. And then at the end of the activation, we have a big prize pool, both a monthly jackpot for the winners across the whole month, as well as individual prizes for daily and weekly leaderboards. So it is what we're building with kind of a very specific guardrail of a tournament that is focused on kind of distribution of rewards to the players. And all they have to do is really download the game and link their in-game account with their Discord ID. And there is where they add their wallet profile so we can know who's who and be able to distribute the rewards after.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So you worked in building normal games or non-blockchain games. Why did you start this specific game now? So you told us before you've been in crypto for 5, 6, 7 years now. And so what's the allure here? Is this the right time to do it? No one's really done it yet. Even the normal games are not doing so well either. Why did you start this, and what's your belief here?
For sure. So I think we started this on two sides. One, it was conviction about the product. We really believed in the potential of this IP and this code base to have a leading sort of role in evolving the shooter genre on mobile. And we started the company with an acquisition to essentially take this IP forward and really reach its full potential. And then two, I think it was on the market side, seeing all of the flaws, seeing both the potential of Web3 gaming, but also all of the flaws of how teams were approaching the building in the space. And I think we had, and still have, a very differentiated lens as to how to approach building sort of games in Web3. And it really came together when we saw the possibility of doing that within the context of building and advancing this IP. So that was kind of the inception, and still what drives us today, which is how can we advance the meta for Web3 gaming and do something that's novel, that's fun, and that delivers on the promise here for the players and all the stakeholders in the company.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're the founder of this project. What's the one lesson you learned so far building this project as your own baby now?
So I think one of there are so many lessons. Probably the most impactful one, I think, is just the discrepancy of the cycle time. What is market timing in Web3 versus what is product cycle time in development is very different, right? So I think the thing that we've learned the most is how to set the company building the roadmap in a way that is flexible enough that it can cater to changes and to course corrections. But given this is a market that is always changing and the metas are constantly dying or sort of getting advanced and then dying right after, it's very hard for you to approach company building and game development in a traditional sense of, let's say, we figure out all of the roadmap months, potentially years in advance, we chart a course, and then that's kind of it, right? You never kind of like course correct, you just go heads down building. I think that change of like what's heads down, that you're making meaningful progress on their product, but at the same time, always keeping an eye on the market and seeing what's changing, how our project's doing, is just very different than in the traditional space, either for gaming or anywhere else, I think, which is like more static and less changing at the same pace. So I think that's something that we're always constantly trying to approximate even further. And for now, like with the tournament, for example, it's a really good example of something that we've nailed just right in terms of the operations of building that feature and the rollout of it without kind of like preparing and planning for months in advance. This is something that we built essentially over the summer. So it's like very fresh. We release it, we then take the learnings, and then we double down for the next activation, the next kind of like big milestone. But we don't kind of like now preset as much as possible to not stay rigid with the market.
Yeah.
So is there a plan to focus more on the Asia market? Like, is that why you're here more in Asia, in Singapore this week? And what's the difference like compared to like the other markets? Like, obviously you're in Latin America and Europe a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I'm here in Asia for the whole month exactly because of that. Because I think the scene here, the industry is much different than not just in Latam, but I think in the West, right? And both kind of from a developer and adoption or perception perspective, Asia, I think, is approaching things very differently. And I think it is a counter thesis or an A/B test that is being run here that is very important for us to be aware of and try taking all the learnings. So it is kind of like for me the place today that potentially has the most amount of answers or different kind of like solutions to the problems we're always kind of like debating internally, more so than in the West and in the US or in Europe. I think I see very few kind of case studies there of how can I meaningfully learn and kind of like change my mind about the market. And to some extent is what I was saying. I think a lot of or thinking about this market is still kind of premised in the wrong way. And so always looking for new answers and new perspectives.
Are you looking for building a team here, or is there anybody in the team that's in Asia right now?
No, so in terms of team building, we remain firmly footed in Latam, particularly in Brazil. That's where the studio is based and all of the team members. For us right now, it would be too fast of an expansion to manage, having kind of like the time zone difference and whatnot. It's definitely something that in the future, I think, with the company scaling, I do want to figure out what is the Asia strategy, because I think covering both sides of the equation here will put us in a very unique spot. But as of now, no active plans.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a lot of listeners listening, tuning in for the first time, learning about your project and all that. So we got to ask you, what is the alpha?
The alpha is nice. The alpha is the mint. So this tournament that we're running is a play to mint activation. And the uncooked raw alpha that we haven't really released to the market is that the details of the mint, which are going to be coming at the end of the tournament. So one activation is directly built into the other. As soon as we finish the activation, the event here with the tournament, that is going to distribute the final whitelist spots, and then we're going to head directly into the mint in early October and start what is likely to be a new season for Jungle with on-chain holders, a true community holding assets in the project, and that's when the real building starts live with users. So yeah, I think all of this has been kind of like a lead up to this moment, and we're excited to finally cross that bridge and have the first big asset release and build from there.
Cool.
Very, very exciting. Okay, I'm not gonna ask for more. Like, if there's any whitelist or anything that like maybe like where can they find more information?
Yeah, so the whitelist distribution was really focused on a few partners. So I think it was incredibly scarce. It is a limited supply collection after all, only 1,000 units, most of which were over demanded or had way more interest than we expected. So we did have to make a lot of hard decisions in prioritizing kind of the right collabs, the right partnerships, and not everyone was able to get kind of a exposure here. There are still ways that you can still get the whitelist though. So if you are active in the community, if you are participating, contributing there, either creating content, being helpful, we are always looking and we are always noticing users that stand out to reward them for their value and contributions to the project. The other is really just the game, right? Outside of the community, the game is probably your best way to get the whitelist. We are distributing 25 whitelist spots to players with the tournament. So there is a great way there for the top players that put in the time, commitment, and grind the game to get the whitelist, and that's a really good signal for us that how bad do they want it. And then finally, I think if you are one of the if you're part of one of the partner communities, most of that distribution to users hasn't been fully done yet. So each partner is going to have their own distribution strategy of how to allocate within their own communities. But yeah, stay on the lookout for the partnerships that we announce, because then that is always a good way if you're already part of those, or if you're not and can kind of join within the next few weeks. Then you have a good chance at getting that. So yeah, I think those are the three main options.
Awesome. Multiple ways to grind. That's what we want to know. And the last question is, well, your prediction of this industry. Like, what is the future of gaming in Web3?
Yeah, I think for us, the future that we are building towards is one where we're building on top of the free-to-play foundation that's been consolidated over the last decade. So we think it's very hard for you to meaningfully advance kind of adoption the moment that you have an entry gatekeeping function, whereas you need NFTs or you need tokens. So that's a non-starter, and we start with the assumption that the game is free to play at the base, and then we're building on top of that. But it's rather a change in the bottom of funnel and a subtle kind of like gradual onboarding, as opposed to front loading all of that kind of like friction from the get-go. So I think this is right now to some extent already consensus, and a lot of builders are realizing kind of the mistakes and the kind of trade-offs of doing the opposite route, but necessarily it involves that. What that means for us and a lot of teams in the space is like a lot of account abstraction, seeing Web3 as almost like an invisible layer that is extending your backend as opposed to something that's already in your face from the get-go. And what I think we are interested in exploring is what is the speculative economy potential of games that doesn't necessarily go through NFTs, but is purely additive to the game. Meaning, how can you have multiple access on top of this game through tournaments, through wagering, in a way that you don't need specific game assets to participate in, and everyone can kind of try that out and have that positive expected value. So I think the economic value prop here is still, to some extent, the major unlock of Web3 for games, right? We are talking about a financial network after all. So the economic and the incentive side is what players in the space are looking for. But how to deliver that and how to build that from a product perspective, I think it's going to evolve very radically within the next few years. And what we're going to see is more overlap with casino economies, more overlap with pure speculation that isn't structured in the way that the last games of the last cycle were done with game assets and NFTs. So yeah, that's what we're betting on, and that's what we're going to be building here with this game.
Do you have any great example or like players in the gaming industry that you think they're in the right direction?
Yeah, good question.
Or Web3 specifically, you mean?
Yeah. Because there's so many games that we also interviewed a handful of a ton of them. Like, I also want to hear from you, like, who are the players that you think are the great ones that we should look up to?
Yeah, so I find it hard to kind of answer in full, because I think there are good examples of teams building great games. If you see some of the games being built out, like Wildcard, Off the Grid, there are some legit kind of like games that are going to be incredibly fun and have amazing production value and amazing teams behind them. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Web3 strategy or the Web3 layer makes a lot of sense, or that it kind of like meaningfully, let's say, gets the job done here from our perspective. So I think you do have this binary distribution of what is good game, fun game, versus what is kind of Web3 strategy that can be valuable. And in between delivery on both, we don't actually see that many live examples. I think some of the games that are figuring out potentially, I'm just not aware of them, and we're kind of like staying in our lane and kind of like just building what we believe in. But I can't actually give you good examples right now.
So
It's a good question.
no, so it's anyone's game because there's nobody out there that is claiming the empire, right? So let's see who's gonna come out like the winner. Thank you so much for coming to our show.
Hold on. I got one thing I wanted to pull up because I found it while you guys were talking.
Right.
Let's have a look.
Here it is. The top 15 least attractive hobbies to women. Okay, let's just look at this for a quick second. Crypto is in the middle. Okay,
so that we're not too bad.
Not too bad. Porn is more acceptable than crypto. I love comic books, so I'm the least attractive, apparently, to women.
Well, gambling and crypto. I wonder.
Yeah. So you should rather do makeup instead of crypto. That is
exactly. Even anime. That's crazy.
Right.
Just okay. Anyways, I want to pull that down. Yeah. Okay. Great fun. Joao, we're going to be excited. We're going to see you over there in Singapore. Keep it rocking for us when we get there next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And we will see you again next week. Don't forget to follow GM Show Official and Memeland, Stakeland, and our co-hosts. We'll see you again next week.